Good evening. Former Financial Secretary Anthony Leung has rejected speculation that a new think tank being set up by former Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa is to set the stage for Leung to run in the 2017 CE election. Leung was among some 60 people who attended a meeting with Tung ahead of the official setting up of the think tank. The Occupy movement was also discussed at today's gathering. The hour-or-so meeting took place in a hotel in Wan Chai, attended by many prominent figures in society. They included former Chief Justice Yang Liang and Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference Standing Committee member and defeated CE candidate Henry Tang. Another high-profile figure there, former Financial Secretary Anthony Leung. He refused to say if the think tank is to set the stage for him to run for CE in 2017, insisting he has no plans to campaign for the top job.
You all have been very kind of imaginative. I think it is, I think I'll leave it to Mr. Tung to explain to the public when the foundation is launched, the exact objective of the foundation. But it is, I think, fair to say that the foundation is intended to give advice to Hong Kong on matters that relate to Hong Kong's medium and long-term future.
Businessman Alan Zeman said the focus today was to get a group of people together to discuss how to make sure Hong Kong goes forward in the right way.
It was also about Hong Kong's international image, our local image, our image in China, many, many different things which are all very, very important. And these are things that we'll be addressing in the future and hopefully coming up with solutions that can benefit everyone in Hong Kong.
Leung Ki-cheung, headmaster of the Fresh Fish Traders School in Tai Kok Tsui, said those on hand today included people from various sectors, such as education, welfare and legal. He also said the Occupy movement was discussed in the meeting, with many wishing to see how to find a way out of it and stop Hong Kong from becoming too polarized. The think tank, called Our Hong Kong Foundation, is expected to be officially unveiled and announce its list of advisors on November the 10th.
Lawmakers have rejected two motions to invoke special LegCo powers to look into issues related to the Occupy movement. Ronnie Samtani has that story.
Two motions were put forward to use special LegCo powers. Independent Wong Yuk Man proposed investigating the police's handling of the attacks on Occupy demonstrators in Mong Kok on October 3rd amid claims of triad involvement. And Andrew Leung of the Business and Professionals Alliance proposed looking into the occupation of roads, including the campaign's organization, planning and funding sources, as well as other impacts caused. The Democratic Party's Wu Chi-wai was outraged that special LegCo powers were being invoked to investigate citizen groups. Defending the pro-establishment camp, Tam Yu-jung said what they really wanted to do is to fully understand what has happened, given the depth and breadth of the impact on this ongoing campaign. Secretary for Security Lai Tung-kwok refuted claims that police had colluded with the triads. He insisted officers were trying their best to maintain law and order. Both motions were voted down. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
The Chinese ambassador to Britain has urged London not to intervene in China's domestic affairs. Liu Xiaoming made those comments as he met with visiting Financial Secretary John Tsang in the British capital. The ambassador spoke out against a proposed British parliamentary investigation into the Occupy movement. A group of protesters rallied outside the hotel, where Tsang gave a dinner speech last night. They were calling for democracy in Hong Kong. And the Financial Secretary will be making a trip to Beijing next Monday to Wednesday. He will be meeting with officials in charge of financial and monetary policies to discuss issues of mutual concern. While in Beijing, John Tsang will visit various departments and organizations of the Central People's Government, including the China Securities Regulatory Commission, the China Banking Regulatory Commission, the Ministry of Commerce, People's Bank of China, and the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. The Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Chan Ka-keung, and Hong Kong Monetary Authority Chief Norman Chan will also join the visit.
A top banker has expressed concerns about the impact of the Occupy movement on the banking sector. HSBC's Peter Wong said the rule of law is Hong Kong's major advantage, but he suggested the current situation is embarrassing for Hong Kong, and so he doubts if the city still has or it still enjoys comprehensive rule of law. He admitted that no one has said they will withdraw their investments, but many said they will need to put things on hold. Wong said this may have a significant impact on Hong Kong's future. And an environmental group claims the Occupy movement has been wasteful, while urging protesters to be more environmentally friendly. But as Ronnie Samtani reports, some Occupy demonstrators disagree.
According to the Hong Kong Environmental Protection Association, Occupy protesters threw away 1.5 million plastic bottles in the first 4 days of their campaign. The association also said some bottles of saline solution were exposed to the sun and stored improperly, making them unusable. FAN recommends protesters to be less wasteful and to come up with an environmentally friendly plan when they retreat. Some protesters in Admiralty, however, disagree, saying they have been managing waste properly. Meanwhile, despite concerns about the impact of the Occupy movement, Day 1 of the Hong Kong Wine and Dine Festival yesterday drew 70% more participants than a year ago. The event was moved from the Central Promenade to an area near the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal this year. Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Greg So said the increase in the number of participants is due to the Tourism Board's extra promotional efforts. Now, while the festival continues, an international open road cycling race scheduled for December has been cancelled. So said that rearranging the use of highways is difficult and that authorities had to take precautionary measures for the benefit of the cyclists. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
And there have been more heated moments between those for and against the Occupy movement. This one took place in Admiralty last night when a man threw an egg at League of Social Democrats lawmaker Leung Kwok-hong. After it happened, Occupy protesters in Admiralty ran after the alleged egg thrower. Leung said 4 to 5 people approached him outside the central government offices. One was about to throw an egg at Leung. Leung, who thought it might have been a Halloween prank, said he tried to calm the man down. The police are now investigating the incident.
2 young Malaysian boys are suing Malaysia Airlines and their government over the loss of their father on Flight 370. It's the first lawsuit filed by the family of a passenger of the jetliner that mysteriously disappeared earlier this year. Lawyers for the 13-year-old and 11-year-old boys filed the suit in a Kuala Lumpur court today. The plane dropped from radar while flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing March 8th with 239 people on board. The suit states that the Malaysian Civil Aviation Department did not try to establish contact within a reasonable time. It also maintains the Immigration Department allowed passengers with fake identities on the plane. The suit said the flag carrier was negligent and failed to ensure a safe flight.
We want answers. Basically, we want the responsible party. Nobody's coming forward. So we want answers. We want people to know actually what transpired. We want accountability. We want those who are responsible to come forward. Or we'll be able to, hopefully with this trial, we'll be able to get all this information.
To Japan, where the country's economic recovery remains in the doldrums. Data out today showed higher unemployment and easing inflation last month. Core inflation, excluding fresh food prices, was at 3%, down from 3.1% in August. After the impact of a sales tax hike earlier this year was factored in, inflation remains below the target rate of 2%. Household spending, meanwhile, was down by 5.6% in September year-on-year. Japan has been trying to reverse decades of deflation, and the country's jobless rate rose to 3.6% from 3.5%. Japan's central bank says it's now expanding its asset purchases to inject more money into the economy and shore up sagging growth. The Bank of Japan will increase its asset purchases by between 10 trillion yen and 20 trillion yen a year to about 80 trillion yen. To the Ebola outbreak now, the humanitarian aid group Doctors Without Borders says a mandatory quarantine ordered by some United States on healthcare workers returning from West Africa is having a chilling effect on possible volunteers. In Maine, one nurse continues to defy her quarantine order. Casey Hickox was the first healthcare worker returning from West Africa to be ordered quarantined in her home for 21 days under the new rules. But she's refusing to abide by them. After meeting with reporters on Wednesday, Hickox went for a bike ride with her boyfriend yesterday. Maine authorities have threatened to get a court order restraining her, but she says she'll challenge it. Hickox maintains there's no need for a quarantine because she's symptom-free. Ebola can be transmitted by contact with a person who's already ill with the disease.
And stay with us for more after the break.